Hey, everybody. It's been a hot minute since I've heard that sound.
Yeah, I know, right?
Craziness.
That is fun to hear because I haven't heard it in a bit.
I know. It's been a long while since the YouTube has been a thing with us.
No doubt. Yeah.
Between your channel, my channel.
Zach, if you can kind of watch and take care of Instagram, because I can't see it.
Gotcha. Good thing I'm on the computer tonight. I just put that StreamYard link. I was like, you know what? We're gonna set this up. We're gonna go to the computer.
Nice.
I was like, you know what?
There we go.
So we're still waiting on Nolan.
So, what are you guys drinking tonight? Hopefully some Backbone, right?
We are.
I'm going with some Backbone.
So you sent him an email, right?
Yes, he has emails. Multiple.
I just told him to check his email.
Yeah, so I'm having a mythical pick out of Wisconsin that was done through Amans by Mr. Chad Huffman and his mythical group. So there's a bourbon finished for 2 years in a rum barrel.
So I do have the Media Backbone Estate.
Oh, nice.
Just a little sample. So
you're gonna have to let us know how that is. I might have heard some good things already.
I'll let you know.
Oh, well.
I'll tell you, the mouthfeel on it is spectacular. I mean, it's a really good coder, 110 proof. And the proof is, I feel like the proof is on point. It kind of tastes like 110.
Okay.
It has a really viscousy kind of coating. Really nice classic bourbon note. You know, it's not like, it doesn't seem like there's anything extra. It's just a really good 110 bourbon.
Nice.
But it does have, like, when I think of like estate, and this would be a question that I have for him, which jumps on. When I think of that, I think of like, your preferred expression, because you have cask strengths and you have all this other stuff, but you're looking for an estate. You're talking about a really, really good expression of what you are wanting to put out as a staple product. So yeah, that kind of gets me excited. What's up, Delrod, Ben? Cheers, Ben. Franchi. Why Franchi always sending freaking Luddy fucking love? I get it. I get it, Franchi. I mean, I get along with you and down there. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, that's Maureen. That's Maureen. Have you given Maureen some nightstand whiskey? This guy has.
No. And you know what? I've only met Maureen once, so I'm just giving her crap because I see Luddy. And I'm jealous. So
it's all good. It's all good.
So you'll have to
Delrod's one of my local guys, Mike D. He is a Blom Brothers Old Fangled Nutter aficionado. He owns several of the expressions and store picks. So he's a card-carrying member of the Secret Blom group.
Not so secret anymore,
huh? There's whispers of it all the time. So,
a mythical creature.
Mythical creature. I like mythical creatures.
It's a mythical creature, right?
You can definitely smell the rum on this.
I'm gonna say this. It's not so port finishy tonight.
Nice.
You remember the only Backbone expression that I had was the mispurchased store pick bottle that happened to be finished in the thing that I prefer bourbon to be finished in more than anything, or least thing I like to be finished in. And
did they have a regular one and you grabbed the wrong one?
Yeah, they did. And I just saw the store pick. I was like, oh, grab the store pick, You should read the label and everything. I get it. But you know what? It was.
Been there and done that myself, so I forgive you.
I remember when I first opened it, it was like mixing cinnamon with grape jelly.
Oh.
And it just wasn't a jam. Sorry. It was like two things at the same time. It wasn't like a marriage. So a little more together now. So
I could totally understand that. I'm not sure I would go after those notes you just told me.
I mean, what do? You know, sometimes you make a mistake, and it's okay.
That's right. We got Mr. Jigs in the house. What's going on, Jigsy?
What's up, Jigs?
I like this crowd. I like the crowd we're seeing tonight. And there is one thing I will say. This would not be a YouTube live stream without the main guest creeping in slowly.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's the only way to
Bobby,
go, right?
Anything new in the front that we can mention for our newest favorite brand?
Our newest favorite brand.
Our newest favorite brand.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I think there's a lot of things we can talk about, and you know, pretty good chance we're going to need to fill some time. So I'm talking to Nolan right now. Well, Chris, I'm going to let you take some of that because you know.
Yeah. So right now we do have signups going on over at BattalionCigars.com. I just put that in the chat in case you needed to see that. So over at BattalionCigars.com, when we get our store going, that should happen here hopefully by the end of the week. So we'll be able to start doing pre-sales on our first Battalion cigar drop. We should find out more info tomorrow. Our pay gateway, I believe we call it the gateway.
I think that's a good topic to talk about so people understand.
Yeah. So one of the things when it comes to selling certain products, whether it's tobacco, alcohol, spirits of any kind, you just can't do a normal store. Like you can't do a normal Shopify store. You can't do any of the other providers. Like you can do them, but you can't use PayPal. You can't use Venmo. You can't just sign up with your basic companies that are credit card processors, because they're considered unhealthy things, or what's the term for it, Bobby? They had a goofy term for it.
Yeah, so there's
wasn't like hazardous or something, but it was something like that.
I mean, a lot of them really run into the whole idea of doing anything that has to do with any kind of tobacco products in general.
Yeah,
there is a generic term for it. I can't think of it off the top of the head.
Yeah, but so we have to go with a gateway processor that takes all the risk and guarantees that like we're selling what we say we're selling. Like we're not selling THC, we're not selling CBD. What we're selling is what we're really selling. So we have to go through with them, get approved by them. They monitor our stuff. So they give us the gateway to actually plug in to be able to use a credit card processor like MasterCard, American Express, all those fun things, Discover. So we have to go through that second party to then plug into the store. Because like I said, we can't plug in a PayPal, we can't plug in a Venmo or any of your traditional stuff that like Shopify or an Equid store or WooCommerce or any of the other stores run off of. We can't use that as a payment processor being a tobacco based brand. So we find out about if all of our stuff is up to par and standards and our disclaimers are written correctly, if our age verification dam meets their standards. It's just checking off the boxes right now. And it would have got done today, but our main guy who's handling our account was actually on a plane taxiing out to the runway when I was talking to him today. So he said he would take care of it and look at it tomorrow. So I was hoping to tell everybody that, hey, store's going to be flying here in, another day or so. But we have to hold off a little bit until John takes and gets to look at everything as he was flying to his destination. Not sure if it was vacation or work. So that'll be happening. But for the time being, you can go to BattalionCigars.com. If you scroll down the page just a little bit, there will be our email list. Sign up on our email list. Any of our drops we do for merchandise, any of our drops that we do for our cigars, which are all limited run. Everything is limited run. You will be the first to know when it drops. We will send out that email first and foremost before it gets posted on any of the socials. So if you're on that list, you are going to have the heads up. As of right now, we have got a lot of replies and a lot of requests for our first release. So you're going to want to be on that list and make sure that when that email goes out, you're there, because we do expect this to sell out right away based on everything.
The first release is going to be the flagship cigar, which is kind of the cigar that all the rest of the cigars are going to be built around. So this will definitely be the full representation of the brand coming hot right out the gate. So we're really excited about this cigar. It's everything. It's everything and more that we wanted.
Yeah. Now the part we can do is we can start doing merch immediately, because I got that all secured yesterday. So everything yesterday got secured for being able to do that part of it, right?
Yes.
Now I will say though, one of the things that's going to be, listen, the cool thing about our cigars, right? The cigar is focused on a cigar smoker that enjoys whiskey. Now, that doesn't mean you won't be able to have it with coffee. Actually, this first flagship, I really, really, really enjoyed with my morning coffee. Like, really did. I had it like 4 days in a row. And with that 4 days in a row, everything was, I found myself having it every morning. But yeah, so I was involved in all this. I went down, I did the rolling, I was involved in the blending, I did the process, I did the smoking. I smoked 40 cigars in 2 days.
Trooper.
Yep, true story. And the thing is that this is probably, and I can say this very honestly, the first cigar that I ever smoked immediately with nothing. I didn't drink anything with it. I wanted to just get it from a cigar profile. And I was so taken back by it. I was like, God, this is so good. Now, the one thing that I found that's really, really true to, and I've smoked all of our first 5 blends. And we already have 5 blends secured.
Technically 6, because we do have our LE. We do have our LE. We
have our first LE yet, but so the LE is all going to be part of the club, right?
Yes.
One of the best things you can do if you want to have the fun side of Battalion Cigars with a lot of crazy stuff is the private club. The private club is going to be called the Clusterfuck. It makes sense for me. What aren't they all limited? Yeah, so they are all limited releases, but there will be limited edition cigars only to the Clusterfuck that are separate from the regular expressions. So I have a lot of different private groups that are doing cigar picks. And so with that, some of those will be held aside for purchase in the club. So you can see what some of the private groups are picking, what other people are picking, and what they're doing with it. So those will be there. Now, granted, they're going to be limited. Not everybody is going to be able to get one, so you're going to want to be paying attention. I can't hold that many of someone else's drops.
Right.
But I can order a little bit extra and open it up into the clusterfuck. Now, in the clusterfuck, as we go, there's going to be limited clusterfuck merch where you're part of it. And Chris, this is his baby, so I will cease talking for a second and let Chris run with this because I gave it all over to Chris.
So the fun part about the clusterfuck is, if you know anything about me, I'm an illustrator by trade. So if you can only imagine, all of our main releases will be straightforward, awesome art that I've made, but very classy, very clean, just like the brand. We're releasing what I would consider 100% a luxury brand. Yep. This isn't, pop into the store, get a $6 stick. It's a luxury brand. So everything needs to be on point. Everything needs to represent that. So when you see the regular stuff, not regular, but our limited editions that releases that come out, they will have that clean, very streamlined, classy, high-end look. Now, when you get to the clusterfuck, you'll still get classy, you'll get high-end, but a lot of fun because it won't be as serious. So we have a band done already for that first special LE for the clusterfuck, and
we do.
It's awesome. That's all I'm gonna say. It's awesome. You're gonna want the merch. You're gonna want the stick. The stick's actually really good itself. Like, it's super good, but you're gonna want the merch just because it's that cool. And I've already looked at some really cool stuff for merch for that besides just shirts. So it's fun. It's fun.
Rod asked, will there be cigar and whiskey picks?
Well, now that you say that, the clusterfuck will be a group that we plan on doing a whiskey pick. We don't know how many we'll do a year. We're thinking one for sure, and that will be something for the clusterfuck. Depending on how well they go, maybe we add a second one, and that's something where members of the clusterfuck will be invited to participate via a drawing, the opportunity to come with us and make a barrel pick.
Yep.
So,
and we've had plenty of people that are game for us doing that.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're getting ready to talk to somebody tonight about some stuff, and there's a couple other places that have extended the reaching hand and said, yeah, we're down for you to do a pick. So yeah, it'll definitely be fun stuff. If you're familiar with any of the picks any of us have been involved in the past, we do all right at that. I'll leave it at that. Anybody else can say what they want, but I'd say we do pretty all right with our picks.
Yeah,
but they're also going to get suggestions, with every single one of them, or limited editions that go out. So you're going to have all of our suggestions. That's Chris and Bobby's, bourbon selections, my Scotch selections. You're going to have plenty of stuff. We're going to have non-alcoholic stuff. We're not going to limit anybody. We're looking at.
Well, what Zach's talking about is when you order our regular cigars, when you order our regular releases, we're going to have those notes in there. Zach, what we were talking about is the barrel pick, doing barrel pick with. Yeah. But Zach just put that one out there. So yes, every time you do order our sticks, we have all got together for these sticks and taken the time to do all of our notes on each individual stick, as well as do pairings. So like Zach said, there are pairings for bourbon, Scotch, non-alcoholic drinks, coffee, sodas, all kinds of stuff, things that we think that go with it. Yeah.
Well, and
you know,
we do have future releases that we'll be doing coffee picks with some people in the community that everybody knows, right?
yes.
We're going to be doing stuff with, people doing certain coffee roasts for cigars. And so what we have done so far, right, is me and Chris and Zach, we go through, and Chris kind of touched on this, is we went through, and if you've never done a whiskey cigar pairing, right, it can be very challenging. The focus is typically the cigar, because you're not going to put out a cigar. So what you have to do is, one, if you don't have a lot of experience in smoking a lot of cigars, right, because you have to have that, or if you don't have a lot of experience doing a lot of whiskey, you have to have a cigar thought. And in that, you have to kind of have a thought of like, oh, what could make this better? What could amplify this? So in a really good pairing, a whiskey and a cigar together make them both better. And they pair really nicely. So for the people that don't have that whiskey and cigar pairing prowess, we've taken the time as a group, not one person, we do majority, we all have to be dialed in on it and say, hey, this is the whiskey. If you don't know where to start, this is where we would start with a bourbon, where we might start with a scotch, where we might start with a coffee, and those kind of things, right? We're trying to help someone find the beauty of the better experience, right? And the better experience is that it's pairing, because you don't have to take a sip every second because you have a cigar.
Bingo. Man, when it goes quiet here, it goes quiet. Hey, somebody's ears perked up. Bobby mentioned coffee pairings.
Something about roasting.
And all of a sudden, ta-da! Hello, Katie Turk. How are you tonight? See what you did, Bobby?
That's called manifesting your destiny.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And so, we're going to keep on mentioning this, so you don't miss out on our releases. You want to know first when they are coming out, as they are limited releases. Go over to www.battalionscigars.com and join the email list. That'll be your way to get the drop on the drop for all merch and all cigars. I see Zach laughing. Yes, Zach. I did radio in college. Okay.
I didn't realize Chris was so good at radio.
I have the face for radio, baby.
No, you've got the whole cadence. It works, dude.
As a graphic design major, I was a communications major because it was considered communications at that time, and you need to speak at 101 words a minute. So yeah, I can do that if I need to.
Oh,
the good old times I don't talk about, but as I'm thinking about it, I'm talking about college, and I used to do the radio show there. I am drinking from an Evansville Bourbon Society glass. I recently did a tasting there with the Evansville Bourbon Society with Bill from Forgate, as we took them through a little Forgate experience. So, yeah, college, the good old college days are fresh in my mind, especially after the baseball team just advanced farther than they ever have, coming only one game away from going to the College World Series. But that one game away, 12-1. It was tied up 1-1 on the series going into that final game, but 7 home runs in the first 2.5 innings. Yeah, that kind of wiped out the dreams and hopes of the Evansville Purple Aces.
That's tough.
It was tough. But man, they were down a couple of their starting pitchers heading into regionals. So for them to get through regionals, Wake Forest was in their regional. They were a top 10 team. East Carolina was in there. They were the number 16 team and the host of the regional. They ended up having to beat them 2 times. They played them 3 times in that regional to get there, and then end up with the number 1 team in the nation, University of Tennessee. So, I mean, I'm going to give it to them, man. They had it tied up. They lost that first game, came back day 2, racked out a 10-8 win. They were up 10-5 going into the 9th and squeezed it out. And got to fight, destiny was at their hands. They were one game away from being the Cinderella team in the College World Series. That only takes 8 teams out of 276 schools, I believe, play D1 baseball. So pretty impressive.
Had to be one of them.
Yeah.
20 teams that were almost there, you're still top of the nation.
Yeah, that's absolutely cool. So yeah, the college thing on the mind, here
so
we
it's
are
looking like
YouTube.
We're going to go ahead and do our live and do our normal stuff like that, but we might have to reschedule Nolan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So not a big deal. Some conflicts came up. Life happens. We all have that.
Hey, running a distillery. A lot of things can happen when you got barrel picks going on. You got barrels coming in and out of the building. You've got shipping. You've got bottling.
And you have family and life.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't know this, but Nolan also owns distribution in California. So he's not only a bourbon company, he is also a distribution company in the state of California. So a lot of moving pieces in that man's life.
That's wild. Didn't realize that.
Yeah. So he's got a lot going on, man. Absolutely a lot. And they just opened up that new tasting room too, right, Bobby? And they moved into a new facility, new tasting room, new barrel room, new everything. So definitely. He is a legend. He is a South African legend, by the way. South African import here in America, if anybody didn't know. Mr. Nolan Smith. Cheers to you, Nolan. Look forward to having you on sometime soon.
Yeah, no, he's a great dude. Does a great job with his stuff. I haven't had anything that I don't like.
Yeah, and you right now, we can talk about this. You actually have his newest release that I don't believe has hit the market yet, the Backbone Bourbon Estate. So this is a cognac finish.
This is a one proof, really, really nice. Has a great, I'll tell you what, a great coder. I mean, just you get the feel on your palate that just kind of resonates there. Quite honestly, as soon as I sipped it, I started thinking about cigars. Like, what would I drink with it, or what would I smoke with this? I'm going to pour a little bit, and then I'm going to save some, and it's good. Yeah, the estate's yummy. I think it falls into this category to me that falls more into a really good premium bourbon. And when I say that, it's like when I think of a flagship cigar, I think of a cigar that is like one that we will may have multiple releases of that are very similar, but they are saying what we are, and that's what this feels like to me. There's plenty of really nice sweet notes. I really don't dive into the deep dive of it because everybody has their own different memories of their palate. But this is a nice, to me, this is a drinker. The Gunny would say this is dangerous because you feel like you could just drink it all. while you're sitting there one night.
Oh.
So it's super easy to drink, super yummy. I think the 110 proof is exactly what it tastes like. Because a lot of times you'll get something that's proofy and you think it drinks lower or hotter. Now, this drinks right around 110. I don't think that there's anything that would make you be like, oh, this is too hot. No, this ain't enough. I think it's a great proof point for what he did with this.
So would you pair this with a cigar?
Oh, absolutely would. The coating on your palate leads way to being able to do a really good cigar pairing with it. What I mean is, a lot of times when you're doing a whiskey and cigar pairing, you want a whiskey that has a finish and that it lingers. Because I don't want to have to go back to it, but the cigar can keep finding that pairing as it goes. And I'm getting a really good long finish on this where the flavor isn't going away. Even as much as I'm talking, I can still taste it. It's still there. And I have no problem going to a cigar. Do I think I know what I would pair with it? I have an idea. I have a couple ideas for sure. But absolutely, this is a whiskey that I could drink on its own, but I definitely could go through and put a cigar with it easily. What's up, Jeff?
Yeah, but come on, like Armagnac and cognac finished bourbons are, in my opinion, the best finish for a bourbon. There's just something about, you know, those French grapes that pair so well with bourbon. If you're gonna finish it, man, just do a cognac on it. That's
So
coming from
when
the Scotch guy, so
yeah,
you know,
yeah. So
take
but
that
in the
with a
Scotch
grain of
world, you're talking about that. Go ahead and expound on that some. Tell us why you think those finishes work so well for Scotch, for bourbon, and for cigars.
I think it's like the distillation technique. Because if you take like Iron Root, for example, they distill in kind of a more cognac derivative style. Just the way that their stills and everything are set up. So I think that lends way in flavors and compounds that pair better with bourbon and of course cigars. So that's my opinion. Take that with a grain of salt, please.
I like your opinion.
Exactly. I think one of the things, you know, that the average Scotch drinker would probably know, right? The one that's normally drinking, but the people that are finding their way into, there's certain things that, you know, that's really funny that, and we've joked about this in the past. You hear a lot of Scotch drinkers like, ooh, I don't like bourbon, it's too sweet. But some of their favorite Scotches are what? First ex-bourbon fills.
Right.
They're dropping them in bourbon barrels to get that note that kind of gives it a little bit of a meatier, sweet note that falls into it. Because typically, for me, a lot of the Scotches fall into the fruits. You know, you get a lot of nice fruit notes, typically more on the citrus level, not always, depending on the finish. But what I find is the ex-bourbon fills give a little bit more of a darker fruit note. Even though it's sweet, that's what I experience. Now, I know Zach has his own thoughts.
I think there's a difference. I think you need a difference between corn sweet and barley sweet. Corn is naturally more sugar. So it's like somebody that likes to drink just tea by itself, and then somebody who likes sweet. You know what I mean? It's that kind of a preference. I just there's majority of the time when you find Scotch drinkers that go, I don't like bourbon. You got to give them something like an ECBP or, you know, one of those private select picks or a Jack Daniel's single barrel. You know, you got to give them something with a little bit more kind of nuts, you know, and you got to kind of punch them in the chest a little bit, and they got to go, oh, this is what all it can be. When they're drinking 80, 90 proofers, they're kind of going, it is. It's just corn sweet. When you elevate it up, above, say 110, I think that's where, for me, bourbon shines.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I would agree with that for sure. Because when you get, like, for me, when I get into the single malts, whether it be American single malt, which has come a long way in the last couple of years, amazing, amazing. There's a ton of. Listen, if you're looking to get into the American single malt market, there's a lot of stuff in there. Obviously Texas. I mean, I'll tell you what Murphy Quinn is doing with the quintessential stuff out of Cedar Ridge is phenomenal. I literally blind, and it was the quintessential tonight was amazing good. And a bourbon drinker would be like, dude, that's really good. Because if you think of the profile, Zach, people are lining up in some of those single barrel pricks high proof because they're putting out these big complex notes that feel finishing. And single malt, American single malt right now is doing some amazing stuff.
Well, but they're given carte blanche to do so. They're not limited by cask selection. It doesn't have to be just new oak. Right. Otherwise, it's basically a finished bourbon at that point.
Well, like tonight on the blind, I did one that had 5 finishes.
Yeah.
5 different finishes, and I was like, man, there's something in here, but I can't name all those. I knew that there was stuff. But, I think that's the thing where you get into that and you're like, because listen, I love classic bourbon, but man, I do like having a lot more complexity, a lot more proof, a lot more of differences because I'm a cigar guy. And that gives me a wider range of pairing this, right? Because you might think that like, if I'm in this really dark, super sweet, caramely kind of note, that I'm only going to line up with like more of like a white wrapper Connecticut style. That's not true anymore. Not at all, because there's so many finishes that lead way towards your wrapper, binder, filler playing really well with finishes. And we're not talking just cognac or just port. Weird stuff. That, like
but there's also been so many new ways to look at the combination of wrapper, binder, filler.
Right.
And those combinations are honestly opening up to being better pairing focused cigars. And that's why one of the things what we did when we went who we went with is because we were able to kind of guide them along, and what we got back was more than we could ever have asked for. It was that cigar everybody's going to be surprised with. It is going to please. It's going to please new smokers. It's going to be there, but there's so much there for an experienced smoker. And the pairing things we got with it was almost strange for us because on the bourbon side, we really fought with it. We were trying, and one of the things that was like the last thing that we really thought was going to be the best thing turned out to be the best thing. When we took the ECBPs out, we were like, all right, what do we think? And we were like, this is it, like instantly. It was such a change. Right,
is we all had a different ECBP. We were all in the same realm of proof, but none of us had the same ECBP.
Same batch.
Yeah, no one had the same batch. Every batch was different. And the thing that was really nice is when we went through, all of us was like, yes. Now, I will be honest, I think you could have been Elijah Craig 94 and been just fine. I didn't think you had to have an ECBP. I thought the Elijah Craig, I would even go as far as to saying I think you could have kind of found a Heaven Hill as a preferred drink with it. ECBP lined up with us because, well, we're proof whores. And, it gives that like big flavor profile with it. But I could have had Elijah Craig 94 small batch with that and been just fine. I probably could have done Evan Williams bottled and bond. I could
Dude,
afford.
the
But see,
7 year,
those-
the 7 year Heaven
but
Hill
the-
100 proofer,
Oh, yeah.
banger with this, banger.
But Bobby, those two that you just mentioned though were pairing bourbons that we have mentioned over the last 2 years, probably more than any other. Probably that Elijah Craig 94 is probably our top suggestion on where you could start for pairing a cigar with bourbon on just about every cigar. So that's just been a hitter for us always. There's something about that profile that doesn't almost matter the cigar. It always seems to hit. So that Compass Box Orchard House on the Scotch side has always been a good one. If you want something that's light and fruity, and that doesn't mean that the cigar has to be light to go with it. It just has to be missing that kind of balancing compound. And sometimes those orchard fruits in there balance everything out.
But how many times have we found Highland Park cast strength? Just is amazing with sticks.
That's another one.
Highland Park.
Lefroy 10. That's like on the peated side. That's always been a favorite of ours.
Yeah.
There are definitely some that we seem to go back to more often than others, and those seem to kind of really be the ones. Island Park has been the surprise for me. I kind of had fallen off my radar for a while. While I was chasing SMWS stuff there for a while. And those new cash drink series for the value for money, $90, $100, what you're getting is phenomenal.
So
that's
that
good.
be said, what are you guys having for sticks tonight?
Room 101 Farce Maduro.
I am on a New World AJ Fernandez.
Oh,
You guys got to go a little slower so I can switch the screens fast enough.
Here.
Wonderful, sir.
This is a staple cigar for me. It's one that I always have.
Oh yeah. Anybody that's followed us for the last 2 years knows that I'm a Room 101 fanatic. I love
Boothy
these
boy. Booth star. Boothy boy.
things. Man, dude. You want to talk? That guy's wild.
Dude, he's a midget.
Listen, I know, but dude, he drives cool cars, shoots cool guns. He's living the life we wish.
He's the cigar version of Aaron Chepnick from Smoke Wagon. Just throwing that out there. Shooting guns, driving fancy cars, smoking cigars, traveling the country.
I mean, sure.
Sounds terrible, doesn't it?
How did I smoke 40 cigars in 48 hours? I've got skills.
He didn't finish them all.
I've got skills. So what you have to do when you're going through the blending pairing process, blending process, what ends up happening is you're truthfully doing a bunch of little like Hemingway style cigars, right? They're short. You're smoking through them to a certain point. You're trying to get into it deep enough to see complexity changes, what it is and what it's going to change into. Because cigars typically have changes. There'll be, you might find that when you first go in, especially on a fresh palate, you can really mistake stuff and think, oh, this is hot or this is ashy. Well, really is like, is it that or is it peppery? So pepper is a very signature note in cigars. It could be in the black pepper realm. It could be in the white pepper realm. Those are very intended thoughts. But when they
Can you tell everybody the difference between the taste of a white pepper and a black pepper, because most people do not know that difference. And I think it's important to share that.
Well, for me, I mean, I would say most people understand black pepper, right? Black pepper usually tastes signature peppery with a little bit of hot. It's a little bit bitey, where white pepper leads to a little less bitey. It's still there, but it leads more towards a clean bite. And that's the best way I can describe it. I noticed that it kind of falls a little bit different back in the back of your palate. You know, you get into that weird sensation where the black pepper notes kind of lead into the front. White pepper kind of leads back into where we would probably find barrel spices. You find that black pepper note back in, or the white pepper note back into the back. So when you get that, that is an intended expression based on whatever ingredient that they're using that would produce that in that situation. But, you know, it's important to understand that you start with a cigar, just like sometimes you start with a whiskey, and you're like, oh, you know, I'm not really feeling this. But you set it aside for a little bit, acclimate your palate a little bit, pay attention a little bit, and all of a sudden you go back and like, hey, that's pretty good. So the same thing happens with cigar. There's, you know, when you're looking at a cigar, right, you cut it down here at the cap, right? And then you have the shoulder, you go into the body, and then you know, down here is at the foot, right? So you're going to see changes as it goes from the foot into the body and up to the shoulder. If a cigar is a really true premium leaf with an intended premium roll, you shouldn't really have an ashtray note, an ashy note. It should be very clean and lead way to good construction, good breathability, and you're not sitting there like, wow, this is, I can smoke them all the way down to where I can't hold it no more. And every one of the cigars we've done that we're producing absolutely do that. Now, we only have cigars being made with the wrapper being the hearts, right? And what that means is you have a leaf, you have a stem down the middle. So you have one side a wrapper, the other side. Now, a lot of people try to get the most money they can out of their leaf. And what they'll do is they'll use that wrapper and they'll roll it at a certain angle, right? A certain degree. And if they roll it to get the most out of it, they're rolling it closer to like 81 degrees. But if they're trying to get the hearts, which is the best center cut of the leaf, right? They cut off all the extremities and they go right through the middle. That's a 51 degree roll. That 51 degree will go from the one end to the other all the way through and be a complete wrapper. Every one of our cigars is that. So people will be like, well, why would someone do that? There's a lot of loss there. Yes and no. Our manufacturer happens to take those premium leaf extremities and sell them to the pipe tobacco guys. So, so everything you're going to get from us is going to be quality. It's going to be construction quality. It's going to be breathable. You're going to have a good flavor, and you're not going to have this like heavy ashy note. Now, you can still get an ashy note depending on how you're drawing your cigar. If you're drawing your cigar dead straight right to your tongue every time, and you're not getting it into the mouth cavity to let it expand, you'll find like you might find a hot note on your tongue because you're drawn to one central location. So that is just taking the time, smoking cigars, and finding out how to get the best draw for you. It doesn't matter if it's a punch cut, V-cut, straight cut, shave, all of those things come into play for preference.
Consistent draw, consistent cadence produces the best experience. And you have to find what that is for you. You can take everybody's suggestions. But you have to find kind of, how, and listen, as you get down into the cigar, as you get lower into the cigar, the time in between puffs should get longer. You should be
typically
taking shorter
the cadence is no more than a minute, or no less than a minute.
until you get about through halfway, and then it can go about a minute and a half, because
Yeah.
now you've really got the cigar going. It's got enough there to keep it going, so it's going to stay lit. You don't want to be drawing hot smoke, because if you're drawing hot, that means you're going too fast. You're going to draw nice, cool smoke.
Now, one thing, when you guys are talking about the hearts, okay, that's really important, because just like bourbon or any spirits, when you think about it, we have everybody cutting off the heads and the tails. There's no different when it comes to the leaves here. So we're cutting off, the heads and the tails are getting cut off. It's just like the body. You think about the body. Where do all the impurities go? They go to your extremities. So the reason I bring this up when these guys are talking about this, a great way that I can explain this to people comes from my wife. She'll tell you that when I'm out in the garage and I have one of our cigars, she doesn't have that ashy smell. She says, it doesn't smell like I really smoked out in the garage the next morning, because it's just not that heavy, old ashiness that you get from some of the older old time brands that have stayed true to blends, and haven't changed with the times. Bobby is going to go smoky as can be.
Hardbag, bizarre barbecue.
So,
2023.
Yeah. So is that like barbecue and a scotch?
It is very, they used what they called a barbecue cask.
Okay. So is it peated?
Very, very much so. Very much so.
So does it come across more as a barbecue or a peat?
Barbecue. So, and I say this for a specific reason, right? You can be really put off by peat. I get why people are. I was one of those guys. Zach will tell you, I was one of those guys. The crazy thing is when you find what's behind the peat. Now, this is my personal experience. When I smell this, I can tell there's peat there, but it isn't the first thing I smell anymore. I smell everything else. Now, what I do is I compartmentalize a lot. I'll drink something like, I don't like that note. I recognize it. I understand it. I put it to the side. And I say, okay, what else is there? I don't think you can get to the point of enjoying a heavy beat off of the nose. It's from the palate. The palate, then as you get really into peats, the nose no longer is off-putting. I can go to the heaviest peat that they could come up with, and I can find tons of notes, and peat isn't the first thing I think of anymore. Like
what about stinky peat?
Put a head in my mind. I have to literally think peat to smell it. I have to really put an effort into it. To me, this is peat first. Everybody else, this would be peat first, but there's a barbecue underneath of it.
I don't know. There's something about it that, once you acclimate to it, you find all the, like you said, you kind of find all those other things around it, and especially like with hard bags, you can find a little bit more ashy notes. The like the campfire was put out with water. You know what I'm saying? Like, that kind of like you just put the campfire out with water and kind of get that ash in the air and you taste it a little bit. Like it can have that kind of note, which if you put that into, hey, all those times that I went camping with my family and stuff like that, and you put it to a good memory, then that's not a bad thing, right? It's just something you tasted. So, but then people love to, hate on Lefroy because, one of the favorite things is like the tire fires and the creosote notes. Anybody that doesn't know what creosote is, that's what they soak the telephone poles in, power poles in, old railroad ties and that sort of stuff. It has a smell, right? But at the same time, when you get in there and then all of a sudden you start finding this like really bright citrus, like citrus rind note, the pith note, and you're like, oh, like how that melds with all of that, and it becomes this homogeneous thing. You're like, oh, that's different, and then all those things are coming from Isla, so they're all on a little tiny island, and so then you kind of get that sea spray note on some of them, like especially the Coleolas.
That's why I was asking.
Bodies.
Yeah, I know I said stinky Pete, and I wasn't trying to be jokey about it. There's like that stinky Pete. There's the real earthy Pete. There's the briny, like the salty Pete. So that's why I was asking. I wasn't trying to make a joke.
Salty,
stinky Pete.
The salty usually is your island. So it's coming from an island, whether it's Isla, Mull, which is Tobermory, Lecheg. You've got Talisker out there. But then you've got, like what you said, the earthy stuff, which to me, that's like those are the Highland Peats.
Okay.
Those are the Ardmores. Those are your Highland Parks, even though technically Highland Parks are not. It's still considered the Highlands, just because of its style. But that's a much more, like what you said, it's a much more earthy peat. Yeah. That's awesome. Human peat.
Leave it to Gary.
That's great. So it's all about where you get in, and yeah, if you sit there and focus on the thing that you hate the most, you're always going to hate. Listen, this Backbone that I purchased was port finished. I never thought I was going to drink this again. I pulled it out tonight just because we were having Nolan on. You know what? It's not so bad. It's opened up a little bit.
Definitely works.
It's not.
And
it's not great. It's not great volume cinnamon.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do this really quick. I just do want to say this over to the people over on Instagram. Now, with the whole Instagram simulcast with StreamYard and YouTube, they have been cutting some people off at 1 hour. Now, I do know with the amount of streams Bobby has done, the amount of followers he has, we're usually good for 3 to 4 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 4 hours. So this is our first time getting there. We're just under 2 minutes away from hitting that 1 hour mark. So if we do lose you on the Instagram, we do apologize. And hey, this is our first time doing the simulcast. So
well, and
it's a learning experience here. So we're gonna find out when you find out in less than a minute and a half. We just want to warn you.
Well,
there was a disclaimer.
I'm monitoring, so we'll know.
So there was a disclaimer when I went to StreamYard that said that they are working with Instagram to eliminate the 1 hour. But as of right now, Instagram was limiting other platforms to 1 hour. Now, is that per person? This will be the first time we figure that out. We don't know.
Yeah. This is our first time back on the platform. Honestly, doing a stream of this length for both me and Bobby on our separate channels. Well over a year, really. Besides a little pop-up one here or there that was kind of like private. So. Yeah. I don't know. We're 30 seconds away from seeing what's going to happen on Instagram.
On streams, but I haven't went, live on mine in a while. But back in the day when we made the jump to Instagram, right? It was because, and it's a real easy thought, right? Cigars are more prevalent on Instagram because most people can take their phone outside, and most people cannot smoke cigars in their house. Most people on YouTube have a studio. They're not doing it on their phone. They're doing it in a studio on a computer. And so therefore, you have a lot more people on Instagram that are more of the cigar thing. Now, there's been a big growth of whiskey tube people finding their way into cigars, really starting to enjoy it, find their way, finding that, hey, I can have a much longer, prolonged experience where the oral fixation isn't just a whiskey glass. I can have a cigar with it. And
guess what? Guess what? We have made it. We are still live on Instagram. We did not get cut off at the 1 hour point.
so we'll see. I don't know what they'll do or whatever. I can go 4. I can go 4 hours. And trust me, I've been cut off before on Instagram. But yeah, usually it's 4 hours for me, but we'll see what they do. See what they do. Now, having said that, I'm not going 4 hours tonight, but yeah,
you can do it all night long.
That's right.
All right, Rob Schneider.
But I do think that, for those of you, like, I know there's a lot of people that are whiskey tubers that are classic bourbon people that have found their way definitely into scotches. Channels that said they would never review scotch on their channel do now.
Chad and Sarah.
There's people that have done that and found their way, which to me is a natural progression, right? Because we look for complexity, we look for things, and the bourbon world, the bourbon world can't do much, although they let them do a lot of finishes, which technically makes it not a bourbon, but Scotch,
but also,
and Irish is unlimited to what they can do. They can do whatever they want.
But I also think that, Bobby, there was another reason why we made the conscious effort to do more stuff on Instagram. It's because we were trying to insert ourselves into the cigar communities that were already there on Instagram.
Yeah.
And build a following there, so that way we could take Instagram, YouTube, and kind of go, hey, this is our two communities that we both enjoy. Let's bring them together. So that was a concerted effort on our part to, go meet all the cigar folks out there on Instagram. And if you want to talk about a diverse group of people, cigars is every walk of life, man.
Yeah.
Everybody. It is. I can say some of the best and most interesting conversations, with people from everywhere. We have a friend of ours that lives in Bahrain, and he jumps on regularly. Shout out to Mopus X, our buddy Mohammed, and geez, man, like
even during Ramadan, he jumped on.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And the thing that's different. So listen, the thing that's different from Instagram, right? I can remember when on Whiskey Tube, doing YouTube and that stuff, if you weren't monetized or had a certain number of people and all that stuff, you were not having a distillery or anybody significant talk to you. You had to be significant. That is not the case on Instagram. On Instagram, I was talking to people day one and able to go through. And, that gives you a whole different platform to be able to not only talk to them, but introduce them to different groups, different people that would have never talked to them. And
introduce them to the process, process, the process of all this pairing, because that was one of the things that we saw that they were lacking in. They didn't have spirits knowledge.
Well,
they knew cigars, but they just were missing the spirit piece of it. And how many people did we turn on to so many different things because of, just, hey, we were there.
Well, and you had the same thing on the whiskey juice, right? You didn't have them with a lot of cigar. And on Instagram, you had cigars, but not a lot of whiskey. And so
exactly.
And really, that part came from the fact that me and Zach just really, really, really liked whiskey and cigars. So for me, it was a natural progression to where I could get into a diverse group, which for the majority of people in here, I'm sure there's some in here that are new that don't know me. I've always been an educator. I mean, that's really like my passion has always been how do you have a better experience? It isn't about, this or that. It's like I wanted people to be able to enjoy being able to do a palate acclimation and learn how to do that in whiskey. Whereas in cigars, you have to be able to teach someone how to retro inhale and find the same thing, but it's a different technique. It's a different style of how you find notes in a cigar. And it's trickier. And and I'll tell you what, because you're dealing with smoke, it's a little bit more of a delicate process. Whiskey is definitely easier. But once you find it in cigars, you're like, oh, it changes everything. And Chris can tell you this.
Yeah. Oh, big time. Big time.
Well, but I also think everything that we learned kind of up through whiskey helped that transition. If somebody was already a spirits person, it's almost easier to transition them to cigars, sometimes than it is taking the cigar person into the spirits, just because that acclimation to proof it's kind of difficult, for somebody that's like a beer drinker or a wine drinker.
So someone said, can I add, they didn't say this, they said, can Blake time us out on Instagram? So I can make mods. So Instagram has mods. You can make moderators on Instagram just like you can on YouTube. I've done it in the past. You can go through and do that. All you have to really do is, if you are the one running your Instagram channel, just like on here, you just hit a little button and say add moderator. You can do the exact same thing. I haven't seen Instagram because the way it's set up tonight, I'd have to jump back and forth between screens. And so I'm just letting Chris and Zach deal with that. So I'm not bouncing back and forth.
Oh, we're still rolling.
That's right. You've got the easy job. You just get to talk tonight.
Well, I have to keep reminding myself to lean forward because I get so relaxed, I just kind of drift back a little bit. And I don't want to be like sitting here like, hey, everybody. Even though it sounds better, I hate that in my face. I can't handle it.
Hey, everybody, if you don't want your mic in your face and you're not worried about how you sound, lean back, relax, and enjoy your cigar or your spirit with the Battalion Boys tonight on Bourbon Battalion.
So I will say this, right? And I know for a fact, Zach will echo this. I find some of my best pairings on cigars are from heavily peated cast strength scotches. It seems weird. It seems like that makes no sense, but I'm telling you right now, this Barbecue pairs really well with the Maduro cigar. And this is a dark, rich scotch. So I will say though, my voice is quite quiet.
But there's a little bit of sherry in that blend too. So it's kind of like it's very similar to, it's a little bit heavier peated than like the Ugadal is. But it's got that little bit of sherry in there that really balances out. And for some reason, Ardbeg's sherry profile just goes well with cigars, period. Man, that was a reasonably priced bottle too. If you find those on the shelf, that was one of their limited releases. It was sub $100, it was like $85. It was totally worth it.
Yeah.
No, it's not really high proof. Okay. It's it's like 49 or 50.
It is.
Maybe 50
that's still relatively high for them though, isn't it?
No. Ugadal's up a little higher.
It's 101.8, 50.9.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but it's not. It doesn't leave you lacking. It doesn't leave you lacking for flavor. It was one of the ones that I really thought was really shined. Because their price profile has just crept up. You're not
Well,
getting for
we're
200
we're
bucks.
we're
you're not
back to
getting-
the yeah, we're back to the tariffs again though, with the Irish and the Scotch coming over from England and anything from the EU. So you're unfortunately gonna see prices continue to rise. And if you haven't noticed, Irish whiskey jumping like 300 to I've seen some at 700% now.
Oh,
Um yeah,
what
yeah. It's jumped
the
that high. So
blue spot
blue
and red
spot,
spot
300
doubled.
bucks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
doubled. So did red spot a little more than
Well,
I
yeah,
think.
like so when it came to the Redbreast 27, I remember seeing it originally at 399. Then it jumped up to about right around 500 at Binny's. And I just saw Total Wine, I believe, has it at 1199 for this year's release.
$1,200.
Shit. Look on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the Irish prices have went bonkers. You know, I've seen blue spots hitting the shelves here at 399 now. It's a sad day, you know. Like the last one I bought was less than a year ago, and it was on a random drop in Wisconsin. I got it for 119, and here we are now like 4 months later and it's 399 at the same place, and I'm like, what? You know.
Yeah, because I know my blue spot, I got it at 100, but I got it, years ago.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think it's time to start
Dustin, I'm
chasing-
probably
time to start
I'm probably
chasing.
wrong, but dude, I've seen just insane price increases coming on stuff that are listed for things that are on the way that aren't technically for sale yet.
So the clusterfuck.
Speaking of which, our boy from Bahrain just joined the Instagram chat. So
What's up, Mo?
What's up, Mo?
we get a shout out to Mo over there.
Yeah, Irish has been really wild.
No, Scotch just hasn't gone that wild. I'm just talking about like Ardbeg's LE drops have increased to a point where, to me, they've exceeded their value, and they're not offering the value that they once were. You know, that's where I feel like the current drop from Lefroy trying to do the same thing. There's a Lefroy Elements out there. It's their very first one. They tried some experimental stuff and put it out. I think it was like $130, but it's a fantastic bottle, man. If you like Lefroy, it's a must. It is an absolute must. Don't be scared by that 130 price tag. It's it's like 59% or 58%. I bought 2 bottles in a week because I poured samples out because I knew everybody needed to try it. Just a fantastic bottle. One of my favorite bottles of this year still. That and that Campbelltown Lock, which can't go
Dude,
wrong.
that was really good. I had a couple of those, and I have a little bit left of one of them.
You got another one coming, so it's cool.
And I don't really sit on stuff. If it's good, I just crack it, and I'm finding it harder and harder to get away from things I think. I just drink them, and if they go, so what?
Dustin asked about the new Lefroy cartridge. Yes, Daniel mentioned to me about it, and it being a triple wood cast mixed with PX sherry. I'm interested. I'm interested. So I've seen it. I'm hoping we didn't have to overpay though. Oh, he's reaching for the 15.
I'm like, Well, I was looking at my Linkwood, but I'm like, maybe I'll just do this. You know what? I'll go to the argument.
Oh. Yeah, that's a.
Show that baby off.
Oh, it's 10
Show
years
it
old?
off.
Oh, wow. That's a dude. That, you know what, man? Anybody that doesn't know about Ardent American yet, it's a relatively new distillery. But what the quality that they're putting out is just fantastic. Just you can't say enough about it. I mean, honestly, that cast strength version though, it hits you in all the feels, man.
So one of the things I wanted to bring about the clusterfuck, right? That I don't think we've touched on, that I think is going to be really important, especially for people that are very interested, maybe new to pairings and doing whiskey and cigars. We will, every limited release and every drop, we will have clusterfuck herfs. If you're not familiar with what a herf is, it's just when we all get together and smoke and talk and drink, right? And there's where you can get into a lot of really cool questions. That will be a Zoom call. Now, granted, at the same time, it'll be one of those where it's the herf isn't really like a pub style hangout. It's a group get together where people can ask questions and grow their experience. And we want it to be that, right? I've been on herfs where they just do the pub style. I don't like it. People talk over everybody. I don't really care for that. I want it to be where people are like finding their palate, finding their cigar palate, and asking questions. You know, one of the things that I appreciate, and I really appreciate, is, you know, I've had plenty of opportunities with Chris. Chris and I have spent plenty of time walking through how to find your notes in cigars and how to do that.
Yeah, just switching up your approach, like switching up your approach. A lot of us go through cigars most of our life, and we think we know what we're doing, you know, and just sitting down and spending a little time, you know, and sometimes it's like what would seem like the most minute thing or something that wouldn't work, and all of a sudden you do that and it absolutely changes the complete palette and the way you pull notes. And since I've done this with Bobby over the last couple months, notes easy. Helping others with this, just dropping that same knowledge that was dropped to me and sharing it. I've had people on stream just go, whoa, holy cow. This is, whoa, I'm tasting all kinds of things now.
Yeah.
This is awesome. But at the same point, I now feel like I got to go back and smoke all these other ones that I had that I've probably missed a lot on. And now I don't know if I liked them or I don't like them. So, yeah.
I remember you did that. I remember that was actually the comment. You're like, dude, I just smoked a cigar and I don't even know if I got to go have that cigar again. Because, like, I don't know how to do that. And it's not, you know, and listen, as the educator part of me, I go through, and these guys have heard this a bazillion times. I'll go through and
there's bigger numbers than bazillion, buddy.
Yeah, well, I'll find a note, and my mind is like, how did I get it? Can I recreate it? Can I teach it? And that is everything that you need to know about me. It's like, I want to help people find the best expression that they can find in what they're finding. We may not have the same memories of a palate. What I think tastes like this, you might think tastes like this, because we have different memories of things we've tasted. And I'm cool with that. That's why I don't really give note profiles. We will collectively as a group on the cards that go out with our member packets. When people are buying the 5-packs that go out and all that stuff, there'll be a card. That card will have the information that we can disclaim. There'll be some stuff we can't. And then we'll give our note profile and our whiskey drinking pairing notes.
Suggestions.
So, but what it is, it'll be more of the idea of helping you find and give you knowledge that you can share. Because when you share it, it helps other people find it. And the more people we have to back our industry, the more support we have, the more likely we are to keep it. Because, like, I don't know if you guys know, but listen, cigar tax is a lot. It is a lot. And I have to register that every month. Every single month, I have to go through and go onto the board and say, this is this, and this is this, and this. And I have to claim all that every month. So cigar tax is a different beast, right? Because although all the big people all smoke cigars, they're also trying to make sure their constituents are happy for the few that don't. So,
don't forget the import tax as well.
Oh, the excise taxes.
Yeah.
The excise taxes. I mean, there's so many things that go into it. I can tell you this. I have, for just cigars, I have an accountant. I have a lawyer. I have a bookkeeper. And I haven't even launched my first cigar. It's coming soon, but there's a lot that goes into the backside of it. A lot. And when you believe in yourself and you know what you're doing, and I truly do, I love what I do and I believe in it so much, and these guys do too. To me, it's a no-brainer. I know that whiskey and cigars give you a better prolonged experience without an adverse effect.
Agreed.
Meaning that you can spend 6 to 7 hours with your buddies and you're not sitting there like face down somewhere.
Yeah, but this is all doing the setup for if this takes off. When it takes off, it's already set up. So there's no scrambling to get ducks in a row. Ducks are already in a row. We're just ready. We need the exposure. That's all we're lacking right now.
Yeah. And listen, I mean, I've been working on this diligently for a long time. I've met with my manufacturer 3 different times. I'm one of 2 people that ever went face to face with him. I'm the only one that went face to face 3 times with him and spent the time with his master roller.
No, you have to change that a little bit, because we've also went to an event with him as well and his master roller. So you've technically been with them more than 2 times. You've went with him and rolled with him 2 times. But we have spent more time than that with them.
Yeah.
At events with them, watching them roll, hanging out with them. I can't tell you guys honestly the countless hours we've actually spent with our manufacturer, talking, private streams, just sitting, talking, learning more about the business, learning everything about our actual product, like being taught everything about our product and just the fine little nuances of our product as well. So, that's one thing. We're able to talk about everything from start to finish about our product because we've been taught about it. We've learned about it. We've been through the process. Bobby has rolled the cigars himself, our actual blends, and smoked them as fresh rolls. We've all sat and smoked these cigars numerous times together, taking notes, going back, comparing the notes. Like, the due diligence has really been spent with all this behind the scenes. So when Bobby's saying, he has the lawyers, the accountants, and all the stuff, the upfront that has been put in from travel a few times for him to hotels to us going. Me and him, we went to the event in Chicago and spent a couple days there. You know, there's a lot that has already been put into everything. You know, web hosting, design time, hours putting together graphics, bands. Like I'm telling you, our band game is on point. Our merch game is on point. These guys have seen all the stuff. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Like the amount of hours we put in. Yeah.
If you go back, and Bobby, and just think about the number of times that we just sat and talked about potential blends with him, before we even any triggers were pulled, that was I don't know, 4 or 5 times, hanging out for 2 or 3 hours, 4 hours, just picking brains, talking about, well, okay, what gives you this sensation? Why does a leaf behave this way, during a growing season, and why this leaf? Why does it come from this part of the plant? Why does this come from this part of the plant? Just learning about how actual tobacco grows is a fascinating thing to just hear about. When you start asking, what happens during different growing seasons? What happens in different climates? Why does this climate produce this type of style? Why does that climate produce this one? Understanding those nuances, then you go back and you start smoking cigars and you're thinking about all of those answers and all of those previous questions that you've asked, and you're like, that makes sense in the smoking experience. And that all of that education and all of that time went into that very first discussion about the first blend. And the manufacturer was like, listen, I don't know that anybody has been as prepared to do this as you guys were, because it wasn't just a flash in the pan. Oh, just make me something. No, we had a whole ethos and mission statement, like how we wanted this thing to go before we even started talking about what the blend was going to be.
Yeah, so
we always knew what the destination was.
Every one of our cigars must be minimum 30 days aged inside the warehouse, right? So they have to be in there for 30 days. Now, we know that it's either 30, 60, or 90. Cigars are different than whiskey. Sometimes you don't want to go longer aged. Sometimes you want a certain age, because what you're caring about is the fermentation. You care about the process. And the last thing you want is if you have 30 days. So usually you have an aging room that's 30 days. They're better on 30-day cycles. You need to either pull or not. Well, after 30 days, new tobacco gets brought in. If you don't want more, stuff in the aging room, which changes.
It's the humidity. It's the humidity and moisture that's in the new leaves coming in from what we were told.
Not only that, but you start dealing with different tobaccos coming in.
Correct.
And you don't want to do too much change to your process. So you can't say I want 36 days. It don't work like that, because there's a 30-day change. So we've elected, based on our manufacturer giving us his best practice thought. He said, listen, 30 days is perfect. Pull it 30 days. And I've been all about, I don't tell my manufacturer what I want other than profiles. I am guided by him. They're the ones that know what they're doing. They're the ones that have been doing this and have multiple factories. They know what they're doing. I'm not going to sit there and tell them, no, do that. Because I've smoked cigars, and Chris has too, where they dictated what they wanted, and I did not care for them. They didn't take his best. They didn't take his best. And I'm all about my master roller, my manufacturer,
master blender,
and letting the blender and roller give me their best expression of what I've said I want.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. Like Bobby said, seriously. A lot of people.
All we did was give them a target. All we did was we gave them the target. We gave them the target to hit. Their job is picking whatever hits that target.
And then they send it to us. We smoke it to validate whether or not they hit that target. And if they did, we're like, yes, that's it. And we've been very fortunate because it just so happens our master roller and general manager of the factory is a whiskey drinker.
Not just any whiskey drinker.
Yeah, he's a drinker. Him and I drank a lot. He was surprised.
He disappeared and took a nap.
I think he was surprised because
it's because he's a ninja.
I'm not sitting there. He's definitely a freaking Dominican ninja. That's a fact. It's like poof, he's gone, and poof, he's back.
Yeah, dude. We saw it at the cigar event in Chicago.
Yeah,
He would be there. He'd be like, we'd be like, he'd walk outside to get on the phone. You'd see him walk back in. He'd wave at you, and then he was gone. And then, like an hour and a half later, maybe 2 hours, here he comes in a completely different outfit, full of energy, just bouncing around, like, hey.
And I've never felt like I don't know that I've ever seen anything nearly as amazing as watching that dude roll a cigar.
Oh my goodness. It's not even right. It's not even right.
It's shocking how good he is. He's got 42 years of experience rolling cigars.
Yeah, 42 years, and I'll tell you this. I'm sitting there. I was going to video him rolling some cigars at the event. So he sits there. He's like, I'm like, put the camera up. He sits there. He smiles. He's got the leaves, the wrappers over his legs. He's got the filler over the other legs. Gets everything, puts stuff down, spreads it out, looks at me, goes, and just starts grabbing stuff and doing stuff. And he's looking me straight in the eyes the whole time, doing it. Gets all done, has it. He's using the ulu, cutting everything. Sits there and goes, and is a perfect cigar. It was a perfect cigar. And he's just laughing because he never looked once. He just looked at me and my camera the whole time and never looked down at what he was doing because he knew what he was doing. And I mean, I guess 42 years of experience doing a skill like that, which is 100% muscle memory. It was awesome. It was awesome, and I know Bobby's rolled, I've got to dabble with Oscar showing me some things at the event while we were there. Not like Bobby. Bobby rolled a lot more than I did. So don't get me wrong. He was just showing me angles and stuff, and it was cool. I'm going to get to do some of that too. I'm sure Zach will do some of that same stuff because, hey, I think it's pretty damn cool. And then, if you're a cigar brand, you should probably learn how to do some of these things so you can really talk about them. Yeah. So I mean,
that's pretty rad.
So part of the process I went through is I have to go to the manufacturer. In order for me to get one of the certifications, I have to be involved with the leaf from plant to cigar. So it's a 2-year process for me. Now I have to roll a certain number of things. I have 3 hours of rolling. I have many more hours of rolling to accomplish that. But it's the idea that I don't want to just say, hey, this is a good cigar and we did it. I want to be fully engulfed in every part of it. And I have been so far, of every part of it. And then next year I'll be down in the Dominican and doing that as well. So yeah, it's been a great process and they've been super great to us.
Oh, and then there's Big Vic chiming in.
You didn't have to mention that shit.
Well, I just said he's chiming in. I mean, I think he drove off the road with his comment. I mean, but what long?
That comment's not that's to you guys, man. It's to he's trying to get into my students.
I know he's giving you a hard time
Love
about your
Love you
competition.
too, Vic.
I just told you he went off the road a little bit. Come on now. Come on.
So are we still on Instagram?
We're still kicking on the gram, dude.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
we're
fantastic. I mean, we're at an hour and 30
so that
on the gram.
That might have something to do with my Instagram.
You know what?
Yeah.
It may not, a periodic stream here or there. They may not kick off. If you're trying to do it every single day, they may limit that a little bit more. But once a week or something like that, they may be a little bit more lenient towards. You're not abusing a privilege.
Well, I mean, I had a lot of people when I very first got Meta back in the day. I had a lot of very big channels reach out to me like, dude, like, what the hell? Like, you have hardly nobody. And I was like, well, I meet the Meta platform. I don't put junk in there. If someone says one thing that's off topic, I deleted it. I don't care how good the stream was. I just didn't want anything to be misrepresentative of me and my channel, right? I don't want nonsense. Like, I get, having a good time, but you can have a really good time and be respectful and be conscious of the idea that, listen, we all know both YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all of them, they're out there looking for a reason. I just try to do my best to not give them one. And I've always been an education channel. So that's what I've always tried to be. I think I've said that from day one, both in YouTube and Instagram. I've always been the same thing.
Definitely. We got more people coming in. I think Jason from the Mash and Drum might be over now. He just finished up a blind, by the way. Shameless plug right now. 4-Gate Kelvin Collaboration 6 took the win tonight, knocking off the special 13-year release of Old Fitzgerald Bottled and Bond.
Nice.
So watch out. That Kelvin special, man. If you don't know anything about Kelvin 6 is a blend of 3 different Kentuckys that 2 of them are 9-year, one of them is a 10-year. Is the first age-stated Kelvin collaboration from 4-Gate at 9+ years, and it is finished in a Portuguese Madeira and a Conch Republic Dark Anejo rum.
Nice.
If you don't know where that is, that's Key West, folks. And there's only one distillery down there that makes the rum. And it's an NDA, but I mean, there's only one. Look it up. It's Hemingway.
Well, one of the other things to think about, there's plenty of people in Whiskey Tube that do barrel picks. They have barrel pick groups. They have clubs and all that stuff. We do cigar releases for private clubs. I have 3 of them right now that I'm doing.
Yeah. We have one that's selected already, and we have 2 more in process.
Technically, if you're looking at cigars, we have 4 more in process.
Yeah.
And a shameless plug to joining up to the clusterfuck is that the clusterfuck is going to have access to drops that were not meant for the general public for groups. So some of that will be held back for the clusterfuck group, and you will get access to cigars that you normally wouldn't have had access to. So you'll also, at the end of the year, have access to vault releases, which, whatever's kind of left over and, sitting there. So
so everything that I do and I order some extra just to sit back and age and sit in the vault and kind of just do their thing and see what they are. Because we've had our flagship release, we had it brand new, and I've had it at different stages. And let me tell you, that shit is good. Like really good. I will, and Zach knows this and Chris knows this. I put it as my number one of 2024.
Yeah, of stuff I've had so far this year. Yeah, and I'll definitely put it up there.
And I have, and
it's
Zach, we smoke a lot.
I know, and I'm gonna say probably the first two releases. At least they're at least both of those are in the top 5.
Yeah, the second release is delicious, but completely different. Not even the same profile.
No, and one thing me and Bobby can tell you, we actually we both had ones that did age over that 30-day limit we were talking about earlier, and I can tell you everything we had hoped for the cigar, everything we had caught glimpses of as far as
at 30 days
flavor profiles and little nuances that were like, oh, if that comes through, hey. They did. We got about an inch in on that, and it was about a 40-day age, which honestly, by the time they get here, by the time they're packed up, by the time they get to you, you as well will be at that 40 to 60 days.
40 to 60 days. 40 to 60 days. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're gonna be tasting what we just tasted, and I'm gonna tell you, those notes, they came through, and we were bug-eyed because it hit. It was everything we had hoped it would be, and honestly, a little bit more.
I mean, listen, the first two releases are definite crowd pleasers. The flagship is going to stand on its own.
Yeah.
But man, that number 2, I said it. I was like, dude, this has to be the second. Like, it just, everybody's going to love this cigar. I was just like, everybody's going to love this cigar. There's something there for everyone.
It is for a person who's been in the cigar game for 20 years, for somebody that is intermediate in their journey, and for a newcomer. It's approachable by all. And that's not something you find in every stick that gets released, especially, based on our wrapper and what we're doing. It actually smokes us something that's approachable by everyone. And
I will say this about the flagship release is it's going to look like a darker release, but it's going to be approachable by everyone. So please
I'll even go a step further with this, right? When you see our cigars come out, they're not going to aesthetically look like a normal cigar that you would see. The reason being is you might see like it looks like there's darker, lighter, different things like that. That is because if you ever smoke a cigar and that cigar looks like it's exactly the same from foot to shoulder, there's a reason for that. We and our manufacturer don't do that on purpose. So if you have a cigar that looks like, wow, that's really beautiful, the color's really beautiful, it's consistently exactly the same, that's because there's been something put on it to create that. Mm-hmm. We have made it very clear we do not want that. And
they're completely 100% natural.
It's 100% natural. We're not putting any kind of oils on it. We're not putting anything on it to make it be more aesthetically pleasing. We're going straight flavor profile, taste and flavors, not aesthetics.
I had to give the puppy some screen time.
The big old meathead, right?
Yeah.
My shadow.
I know, especially now that I'm back in the puppy game again. So
what's up, Ernie? Oh, what's up, buddy? You did want to come out, man, so I left you inside.
I think I just tinged Bobby up there when I saw him back in the puppy game again here.
You
None of
know,
mine are puppies. Mine are all old.
Yeah, and don't worry, gentlemen. After our conversation, I had a conversation with the kids, and we just changed the spelling. We changed the spelling of the dog's name.
There you go.
We did adopt a rescue for anybody that wants to know. He is under 1 year old. His name is Arrow, as in bow and arrow.
that's
Arrow.
a good one. Yes,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
that's
So we're not changing any of the phonetics with the dog. So it works for the dog, and we're not retraining him on a new name. It's just a different spelling. So a little backstory on my dog. I'm gonna throw this out here because this dog is cool, man.
Put yourself center stage. Man.
I am. I'm gonna throw this out here. So this dog, my wife bonded with this dog like no tomorrow. Like it was at a rescue event. They went to her and my daughter. This dog wouldn't come out of the vehicle, didn't want to be around the other dogs, didn't want to be around people. She went up and met him because she had heard the story about this dog, which I'll share with you in a second. But after about 2 to 3 minutes, the dog came out and tail wagging and went with her and like went for a walk and stayed with her and my daughter the whole time, which kind of started all this when we said we weren't going to do this again, but they really bonded and clicked like instantly. So the story of this poor guy, he came from Missouri, and he became a rescue because somebody driving a truck down the road decided to roll the window down in the truck and throw this puppy out the window at a group of people when it was just a newborn puppy. Puppy has no issues. He's all good, you know. Thank goodness. No injuries, didn't have any problems. But yeah, what a way to start your journey in life. So now he's a family member here. And for some people that don't know, one of my twin sons, Winston, absolutely is not a dog person. He likes birds and turtles. And he stays away from dogs, wants nothing to do with them. And the rest of my family absolutely loves dogs. So that was one of the reasons we weren't into it. And he went outside on his own while the dog was outside with the rescue. And we didn't even know this. He has to walk the dog. And him and the dog went for a walk. Like, this guy won't even let, like, a Chihuahua or a little tiny 3-pound dog touch him, let alone, like, this, 55-pound guy. He took the dog for a walk, came back inside and goes, "All right, if you guys want a dog, 2 thumbs up. The dog's cool. I like it." So... Yeah.
Oh,
How about that? How about that? And I dropped that for you guys. Oh. Yeah, I'm going for the whole theatrics here. So yeah. We have a rescue dog,
hey, listen, dude.
And Arrow's under 1 year old, and here we go.
There's no other way to get a dog than to rescue one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
if
honestly,
if y'all had seen the amount of skin issues this guy had when we got him, oh god, the pads on his like elbows are like laying on concrete. They're just all messed up, and he just had all sorts of skin issues because he's like allergic to everything. They finally got him into the right person, and the lady looked at him. She goes, "Oh, he's got allergies. He needs to be on a vegetarian food diet." So I have a meathead that is a vegetarian. But all the skin issues are going away.
Yeah, if it works, that's all that matters, I mean, look at him. He's happy as can be.
Oh, dude, he is literally my shadow. Wherever I go, he pretty much goes. He's tolerant of everybody else, but he is definitely my dog.
Yeah. And like this new meathead, he's been in the house about 24, probably about 30 hours now.
Yeah.
0 accidents. Like, when this guy needs to go to the bathroom, he comes and lets you know. And the other good thing about him, he's only barked 1 time since he's been here. And that was when I came upstairs from the dugout. He had no clue. I was the one coming up. It was dark upstairs, and he was sitting between the stairs, the kids, and me coming around the corner from the stairs. And he got up, and he gave some definite barks and stood his ground between me and the kids. Realized it was me, went back and laid down, and that's the only time he's ever barked. So that guy won like major bonus points with me right here from the get-go.
Right.
You know, come on.
What,
man.
do you know that you're on camera?
Yeah, he does.
You?
He sees himself on there. He's like, what's going on?
Ernie, what are you doing?
Oh man. Oh, he's such a goofy dog. He just, like somebody had this guy. They found him. Okay, the story is Bert and Ernie were found wandering around South Houston in a really bad part of town, and some lady corralled them in her garage, and the rescue organization got him. And the way he looked was terrible. I was like, that's the dude. I was like, just get the rescue lady to bring him by. Now, part of the reason we wanted him, we were like, he was wearing a T-shirt that said House Hippo on it. And so he has a T-shirt that says House Hippo.
Oh, man.
So we were like, can he come with his T-shirt? And we're like, yeah. When he gets here, the only thing we're worried about is the cat. Like, is he gonna... He didn't even care about the cat. He's like, hey, whatever. You go do your thing, I'll do mine. And I was like, the lady, we brought him for a visit, and I just told the lady, I was like, you just leave him. I've got a kennel. I've got everything. I got everything he needs. Just leave him. She's like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, just leave him. That was like 4 months ago. So, yeah, he ain't going nowhere. That's
awesome. That's awesome. That's how we were. Like, they were doing the house visit yesterday. We honestly filled out the paperwork yesterday after he was here for an hour. Like, when Winston gave the thumbs up and he ran around the yard and played with the rest of the kids, and the lady from the rescue was like, whoa, like, he really feels comfortable. Like even me walking up to him, she's like, he doesn't like men. He doesn't like men. I walked up. He walked right up to me. He sat down, looked up, locked eyes with me, let me pet him, never took his eyes away from my eyes. She's like, oh, wow. I looked at her, I go, works for me. Looked at Bridget, I'm like, you take care of the rest with the kids, but I'll give it a thumbs up, I mean, when a dog does that with me, I'm good. Especially when she says they don't like men. I'm in. I'm good with dogs. I've had dogs my whole life. I can walk up to just about any dog, and we're best buddies from the get-go. So, I didn't have a problem with it. So, gentlemen, what's in the glass? What are we drinking? I mean, this is essentially
I got a Nashville barrel.
Nice. I mean, this is essentially our kickoff of Battalion Cigars on YouTube.
Yeah, so I am still on the Ardent American Highland Cask.
Nice. I'm gonna bust out some Pinger 15.
Oh, nice. Mayor Pingree. I don't know how you pronounce it, but that's how I pronounce it.
You said it correctly. I just like incorrectly speaking and calling it Mayor Pinger. It's Pingree, former mayor of Detroit.
Yeah, I have Mayor Pingree up here behind me.
Yeah. Oh, and I got my first hate message.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
It's been a good year since I've been on YouTube, and I got my first hate message. I'm doing well. Cheers to that. But dang. Very good. It's very good, gentlemen. Caramel and berry goodness.
Oh.
Smells like pure hate. Yeah, it's still good. Oaky berry caramel. Yum! I'm all in. Yes, indeed.
I'm sure he could, Dustin. I'm sure he could. The
messages are flowing now. And if you don't know, over on we're on YouTube, but the folks over on
we're
Instagram,
on YouTube.
We are approaching hour number 2. Okay, so we didn't know if we were making the hop into hour 2 due to Instagram and StreamYard, how it works, how it links up, as the boys were doing earlier. I thought that was funny. I was waiting for somebody to do the itsy bitsy spider.
We are going to call it. We are going to call it at the 2-hour mark because I want to.
Yeah.
When it gets published.
Okay.
So people can go back and watch.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that doesn't mean we won't be backstage or whatever. So if anybody's interested in backstage, you know how to do that.
I will post the link then. Since we're gonna go to the dark side.
Good night. I work tomorrow, so you know.
All right, the link is going up in the chat here on the YouTube side for the backstage. We will stay on there. Just so everybody knows, we are going to try to simulcast a lot more on our Wednesdays, especially every time we do an interview and things like that. You will see us doing that. We do have more people. Nolan, unforeseen circumstances on his end. We had to reschedule last minute. We were talking to him leading up to and into the beginning of the show, but we had to reschedule. So he'll be back on. We have a couple other distilleries coming on soon. We have some coffee people that'll be coming on, a couple different ones actually. We've got some different groups that we're doing collaborations with that'll be coming on and talking with us as those things go on. A lot of fun content, a lot of interview stuff. So you're gonna see us talking to all kind of people from all different walks, from Scotch to bourbon to coffee to just groups, distilleries, bar owners, restaurants, people that have cigar lounges, other cigar manufacturers. Yeah, like we're bringing you a wide array of people that you're going to get to meet and get to see and hear a little something different. So we're excited about it. We hope you're excited as well. And from me to all of you, thank you for coming out tonight and hanging out with us, listen to us talk about Battalion Cigars. We are excited about our first release coming here at the end of the month and the next, 5 after that, which, like we said, are all planned. You can go sign up so you can make sure you don't miss a drop. Head on over to www.battalionscigars.com. Go down to our email list and sign up. You will know about the drops before they drop and be the first to know. So make sure you go do that.
Did you post a link yet?
I am about to hit the button. I was waiting until I finished up and posted. So there you go. The link is in the chat. We will jump to the back room in 1 minute and 40 seconds, just so you all know.
Well, thank you to everybody that jumped on. I appreciate it. Hopefully you learned a little bit about where we're at, what we're doing, and what's going on. Hope you get to be a part of the ride. Let me tell you, it's going to be a blast. I'm super excited for all of it. I can't say enough about the clusterfuck. I think that is going to be one of the funnest things. We have so many things and so many people that are interested in doing stuff with that. That's going to be, it's going to be a lot of fun. And there's going to be like a lot of cool things. Like, so we don't plan on doing any picks that don't have cigar influence. Right. So picks will have cigars involved. Going to be a great time.
Yeah, dude, the merch is off the hook. You're gonna want the merch. There's gonna be hats, there's gonna be shirts, there's gonna be morale patches, there's gonna be all kinds of cool things, lots of stickers. I hope you sticker the world with our first LE. I hope everybody buys the gear and wears it everywhere because it's amazing. Oh, dude, I feel like a mad scientist doing illustration when it came to that. So yeah. I joined the club just to get that.
And you have full reign. And that was the thing that, I want to make sure you had full reign.
10 seconds. 10 seconds. Jump in the back room. Come talk with us there. Otherwise, everybody, thank you very much for coming on out tonight. We're out of here. Have a great night.
Cheers, everybody.